Okay,
You.
Ways and Means meeting will be called to order. Alderman Carl, please shut the door behind you, please.
Oh, you're fine. Oh, I'm sorry. So sorry.
We have our agenda supplied by the most efficient clerk I've met in my life.
Yes.
The only clerk I have.
All right, well, Sharif, please do the roll call.
Alderwoman Davis. Alderman Vaccaro.
I don't have any.
Alderwoman Howard.
Present.
Alderwoman Hubbard.
Present.
Alderwoman Murphy.
Here.
Alderwoman Spencer. Present. Alderman Muhammad.
Here.
Alderman Odenberg.
Present.
Alderwoman Boyd. Here. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Chairman Vaughn.
Present.
Do you have any more?
9 present, you have more.
Okay, thank you very much, Sharif.
You got mine.
We have no minutes to approve. We're back to board bill number 1.
Here we go.
We've heard from all department heads. We've put a request out to have them request their adjustments on, and send them to us. What you have before you is a request, or the request from the sheriff's office, request from the circuit attorney's office, along with the expense on the Governor Greitens case from last year, which we also requested yesterday. I have from the Board of Public Service their request, which is no request, so I don't see a need to hand that out. So we have not heard from any other departments as far as that. We're waiting on public communications.
That's what they asked for, and then I have the documentation.
Okay. All right, so
Hey, Joe, the fire chief called me this morning, he said he never got
The
anything
sheriff.
to respond to.
well, every other department is sending them in, so I don't know if the chief, well, it was sent, not sent to the fire chief, it was sent to public safety. Yeah, it was sent,
Go ahead and look at it.
so it's up to Mr. Edwards to take care of it at that point. We don't send it out to,
Okay,
the communications division answered, so apparently you sent some, we have, all the other departments are answering, so.
okay, well, that's okay, I mean,
Make sure they got the request. All right, you were also giving your little yellow and green slips yesterday to start this process, which I'm guaranteeing will probably not end today. So what we will do, if anybody has, we'll start in order of seniority and go through and see what the request anyone has come up with that agrees or disagrees with what we have before us from the departments.
What are we doing? What is this?
He's just starting.
All right.
They gave
And
us.
Alderman Davis, since you were here, you start, or we can give you a chance to get settled in.
I'm looking for the pass.
All right, let you get settled in. We'll start with Alderman Vaccaro.
so, you know, I'm anxious to start doing the cuts and putbacks. I obviously want to
Sure.
put back some of the stuff that I believe is important, which we'll work on. But the one thing I noticed looking through the budget, a lot of these appointed people, not civil service, they've got some heck of a nice raises where they'll cut employees in a department, and then the appointed people that are not civil service that are appointed get these giant raises. I'm not sure how we address
We didn't
that,
get that.
but one thing that I'm looking at is putting some sort of an ordinance together. I'm just curious what this group thinks, that would say that no employee can make more than 5 times the amount of the lowest paid employee.
So you're talking about introducing an ordinance not at a later
Yeah, I'm
date?
curious what this group thinks. What would be this, in this?
Well, let's
Oh, we got that. That's what
make a
Carol
note,
and I
and
talked
see if we can
about.
draw that up, and at this point, I don't know if there's, we
Otherwise,
have civil service or pay.
I'm ready to participate on cuts and let's see what everybody's
So, I
got.
mean, let's stay with what we have on hand today. That's something we can't.
Right, no, I just wanted to bring that
Okay.
up and get reaction.
So you have a pet project you like to add back or cut out or do something with at this
Well, I'm
point?
gonna wait, I mean, we'll be doing them.
All right, I just,
What?
What you want?
okay.
We got them yesterday. They gave us a whole bunch.
I left.
You left those.
Yes, yeah, if we have gotten answers, and before you have the request from the sheriff's office, request from the circuit attorney's office. Communications I have before me.
these are the two vacation.
You know what? There's nobody coming to talk.
Yeah, we have no one coming to speak, so
Right.
We can.
Spread out. Spread out.
yeah.
We're,
Coming in.
Different job descriptions, yeah.
Okay, let's pass it around.
Yeah.
The door-to-door is $266.
What's the name?
What is this now? Take one and pass it on. Okay.
Circuit terms.
So those are the only three.
so where's that? Where's that?
Oh, my.
Oh, they don't have a dollar amount, only a dollar amount.
Can you, is that, yeah, can you make some copies?
Is that the same thing? No.
Yes, he's making copies. of
Yeah,
that.
everybody wants special events.
That one's gonna be easy. We're gonna cut it. They might put it back.
I think so.
All right.
There won't be any-
Is this two different?
Yeah, we're passing them. No, you're taking one and passing.
Just take one
and pass.
One more time.
Did you
But
pass?
that's another stack, that's what I'm looking for.
I ain't passed.
All right.
Here, well, I'll take care of you, John. There you go.
Okay.
I'll just watch what John does.
He might
All right.
want one, I don't know.
So,
No, I'm okay.
Alderman Howard, do you come up with anything that you wanted to add or subtract over the evening? You need more time to...
I do have one. I want to, in the building division, I want to add that we have a budget. You know, I want to run some money around. I haven't quite decided where we're going to do it, but I'd like to add full-time building inspectors that they circulate and that buildings are inspected every 3 years in each ward.
Okay.
And I'm looking at it, and I've kind of identified where we can get the money. We can
All right, yeah, and that is the case. If you want to do something, you want to take the money, you have to find out where
Right.
the money yourself and where it's coming from, then we'll
I'm
try to...
working on it.
Okay, for those admin
And I
classes.
think the building commissioners.
We should do that.
Okay, all
Yeah.
right.
The amount is
Is there a dollar
266.
amount attached to it?
At the bottom.
And then he's got another ask
Take the
too.
money
Yeah, I've got that.
from.
Alderman, is there a dollar amount attached to what you're looking at doing?
And you
Well,
Yeah,
we're
I
negotiating
think that we
because there's
talked
a- more information this
Okay.
morning.
Right.
So, I don't know if this
They do a
is,
30 award every year. so
he
it's
told me
every 3
266,
years.
but there's more information here.
Door to door, alley,
So
inspection.
we'll work it
Okay.
out and I'll
All
come
right.
back with
If
you.
we could try and keep the chatter down, because
And then there's
keep the chatter down, these microphones on the table pick up everything, so...
Well, we're working on
I
it.
know. Take a sidebar, take a walk outside, you guys, and have a long discussion, okay? All right. Alderman Hubbard, was there anything you came up with that,
Not at this time, I'm kinda ill prepared, I would like to see a summary of everything first, so.
okay,
then
yeah,
we
we're
can
still
see.
waiting, a lot of departments have not sent in, we'll put the request out. Have we Add them all through. Alderman Murphy,
One of the things I was thinking about was, as far as a cut, expense-wise with special events, perhaps moving that, or that, I believe, I heard the woman's retiring in July.
okay.
It might be a good time to cut the whole play. It's 150 grand, I think. And it seems to me that perhaps,
Guys, if we could, again, you need to have discussions.
well, I was just thinking,
Okay,
her,
well, we'll
the
do
job still
discussions
needs to be
later.
done.
What's that?
But special events, I said the job still needs to be done, but I think it could be incorporated in another office. Someone in streets, because usually it entails closing streets, or even we thought the excise commissioner could gain a secretary of some sort, perhaps the person that's there now, because a lot of times the special events require liquor licenses also.
Certainly.
And I believe the street closing and all that can almost be done online, it just seems to be an office that we could incorporate into something else. And that would be a source of some money to come up with some of the other things we're trying to deal with.
Okay, so noted. Thank you. Alderman Spencer,
Mr. Chairman.
That's a better
All right, I would like to call Mr. Paul Payne to come and help us answer some questions as far as
All right.
how we can pull, where the money
What
that
we
we are
can do.
proposing to pull out for this door-to-door building inspection program, how we can maneuver some of the other building.
You guys are making one of those chairs.
To give a little bit of background.
Working us up already?
Yes.
Sorry,
Can he sit?
Sorry, Alderman.
Well, here,
He's got to sit in the hot
Mr. Payne
seat.
can sit in the
Here,
other
go,
seat.
move- yeah, there you go. There you go.
So, what we're proposing to do here, and my colleague from the 14th mentioned this a couple weeks ago, but, building inspections and keeping buildings up to code is absolutely paramount to public safety and the preservation of our neighborhoods. We have 2 building inspectors currently for each ward, mostly, but not entirely, and we are woefully understaffed in that department. Without overhauling the entire building division, what we are proposing to do is to supplement the building inspectors that are operating by ward, usually just responding to requests, they're responding to housing conservation, et cetera, and supplementing that program with a second program that would be the door-to-door
Inspection program.
inspection program that would mirror what the city had under the Slay administration 20 years ago.
No,
Or excuse me, but it ended under the, excuse me, under the
Right,
Slay
ended under.
administration. Yeah.
probably
But-
6 years ago.
So putting together a door-to-door crew is something that we've spoken with the building commissioner about. He's supportive of and is poised to implement if we can find the budget. And talking with him about where that money could come from, we know we've increased our demo funds significantly this year, and we're going to propose pulling the majority of what an ideal the door-to-door program, as outlined by building commissioner Oswald, would cost the city around $500,000 a year. Pulling that back a little bit and going to about $300,000, the commissioner feels like we could have an adequate, fully functional program that would go around and proactively find and cite building owners for building code violations. This will help prevent buildings getting to the point where they require a demolition. Okay, and it will also get buildings in compliance with our building codes and make our neighborhoods look a lot better. Start to address some of those absentee landlords that live in California that have parked their money here in St. Louis and are doing nothing about their buildings. With that in mind, we're proposing to we'd like to pull out $300,000 from the demo fund, but how to do that functionally, we don't fully understand. So we recognize that there is about $4.5 million currently going to demo between the 1110 fund and the 1116 fund. How to then say, all right, we're going to take $300,000 out of that 4.5 collective budget and put it into a fund for
Hiring.
the
Door-to-door.
proposed door-to-door crew is not something structurally we know how to do.
Right.
Okay,
So if we can either have them do that now, or it's something that we could propose.
Mr. Payne, would that be something you'd like to address?
Well,
at this point?
can I
Is there
add to
time
that?
do
No, I understand the question.
Right.
I will tell you that when it comes to, we'll help you with any technical, but in terms of
Okay.
substance, that's on you guys.
Sure,
So-
certainly.
Okay. So the question in terms of building demo funds, you've got 2 sources right now. One is the use tax, which by ordinance is a minimum of $3 million. Right,
Sure.
unless we not. And then the other is Prop P funds,
Correct.
which is also by ordinance a percentage. So as long as we're meeting those 2 percentages per the ordinance, I mean, you can't go below that per the ordinance unless you do some sort of change in the ordinance to do that.
We have done,
And we've done it.
and historically, we have failed to
No,
live up to those.
Comply with
Comply with those
ordinances.
ordinances.
No, I understand.
Compliance is not something I'm necessarily.
Well, no, I understand it. So, but what I'm saying is,
But to be transparent, we
Sure.
need.
you've got $3 million in the use tax, and then the 600 and some odd, or close to 700, I believe,
In the Prop
in the
P.
Prop P funds. However, in this current fiscal year, we're proposing more than that, remember? So, in the use tax fund, you are proposing more than, it was 3.8 million. So technically, that would be coming out of what we would call excess use tax funds. So if you were proposing to reallocate from there, then you would, it's basically Fund 1110, you would be taking that. you would be taken from that amount. But you can't take more than what is excess, above 3. I mean, so 3 is the limit because that's where the ordinance says you should be, unless you want to amend the ordinance.
And currently, from the use tax, what exact figure is being pulled out from the use tax and put it into the demo fund currently?
If you look at page 237
Got it?
of your line item detail.
On
your
the
line
operating plan?
Actually, the line item detail.
Line item,
And it's,
that's the one you got.
Board Bill 1 would also be a reference. Basically, that's what you're amending technically.
Right,
But
right.
in the
Yes.
line item detail, page 237,
Yep,
Got it?
you can see that it says demolition of unsafe building. First of all,
Right.
1110, that's the use tax, right?
yeah.
So the budget is $3,825,000 in that fund.
Right.
Say that again. On page 237,
The
Right.
budget for building demolition is $3,825,000.
Right.
correct.
See it, yeah.
And our
And there's-
minimum was 3.
This is all coming from use tax here?
That's all use tax money.
Okay.
So you could,
I'd like to propose that we take 300,000 out of this use tax and put it into a fund that can be used specifically
The building
for
division.
the building division to put
door to
together,
door.
put together door to door. Now, there's not a line item, budget item for that, but we'll have to make a new one.
All you
Oh,
gotta do
are we
is
just
take from
taking,
that
are we
fund.
processing or are we going, or I just have a question about that?
If you have a question too of
I
Karen.
do.
yes.
Sure.
So my, only concern with that is, I know that there's a need
300
for us to address these buildings, but I think in totality, when we look at stuff, I mean, I'm all for going up against the developers and making them stabilize their property, but I wouldn't wanna cause
She's
any
taking
undue
3.
hardship on, seniors or other members within our community who can't afford to, keep their properties up, and then once you start this process where they're constantly being cited, then it could possibly put them in a situation where they're either lose their homes. So I don't want us to get too far out there on that, or maybe I think we need some more information on how it will be structured, how properties will be targeted, where the referrals would come from.
Sure, and the commissioner, we talked to him about targeting properties that have out-of-town or non-owner occupied, so we would start with the non-owner occupied. These would be vacant buildings, and targeting those first. He mentioned that he felt like the amount of money they would generate from fees and fines would be around the ballpark of $50,000. The point is to get property owners, specifically vacant property owners, in building code compliance. It's definitely not to target folks, but I do,
And then along with that, we do have healthy home
Right.
funds that, and I
And it has to
say,
address all code violations.
I don't believe the intent here is to burden
Right.
Right, I get
to
that.
burden
I
the
get
residents.
that.
I believe the
get
intent is to bring buildings in compliance. that are-
Vacant
that are-
properties,
Vacant
starting with
properties.
vacant properties.
Yes, I recognize
and
Marlene.
I think,
So we're
can
just
I,
gonna
can I
take
say
out.
something else?
So this
And
will
I
be
think,
another.
I understand your concern, and I understand that sometimes people financially, but at the same time, if you have somebody living in an unhealthy situation, I think we may be able to find ways to assist them, get them into better circumstances, because right now, I know there's some buildings, even in my ward, that people are living in that they really don't need to be. And not making a judgment, but we need to provide that.
Okay, here, one second. Alderman Carl, if you have discussion with Alderman Hammond Jarrett, we need to take that to another room.
No, we have an amendment. to the-
Well, currently, you're not being recognized. Alderwoman Spencer has the floor. If you're not involved in this particular conversation, then we need to have your conversation taken out to the hallway.
Okay,
That's the end of the conversation. Well, Alderwoman Spencer still has the floor. You were, go ahead.
Mr.
All
Chairman,
right.
so I'm happy to entertain, I think this is a really valid concern and one that we would need some, guidelines around for the building division to ensure that this is specifically to target vacant property owners and making sure that we have some protections for some of our more vulnerable property owners that don't have the funds, and recognizing that while we do have a healthy home repair program, it is not as well funded as I know my ward would like to see.
Is that your question?
Yeah.
All right, anything further? Alderwoman Davis had a question.
I just wanted to bring a little bit of clarity to this situation. We also have 2 additional funds that we collect money on for vacant properties. And I want to make sure that those funds are being used for this. And that was the purpose of it, to most especially for the out-of-town guys who don't do anything. And so that vacancy, is anybody here from building? Nobody? Okay. Okay, so that particular ordinance was passed, what, maybe as long as 7 years ago? And so that's a fund that's there just for that. And if we're going to do anything, make sure that those funds are used appropriately for additional staff or whatever, because that was the purpose behind it. And then there's another one, another ordinance fund under Building Division that's already there that also deals with vacancy properties as well. And so and let me help you with something. And I love everybody here, but when we come to them with something, they usually just say yes and try to figure it out. But at the end of the day, it's not fair to department heads, because they sometimes just don't want to say anything different. But there's funds there. We have 2 programs already that's collecting money on a regular basis, and it should have good money in it. And so I would like to explore that in a different format, because it's already there. So 2 different ordinances for vacancy.
So what are they? Do you know what they consist of?
I just heard this, so
Okay.
I have to do my homework. But,
Okay, so if we get those ordinance numbers and see where those funds are being diverted.
we need
okay.
both of those.
Okay.
At last time I checked, it was producing some pretty good money too.
Well, I
Like
guess we
5 or
need to
600.
find out if those funds are going to the building division or they're going to the general revenue.
That's what I'm saying. The ordinances were passed for that, and let's make sure those funds are being used for that. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I imagine Mr. Payne may know the answer
And the question
to the
being,
vice chair's.
There's a couple of ordinances that Alderwoman Davis that were passed in, for the building division to fund these extra inspections.
Well, I guess the issue here, the question is, there are fees and fines associated with vacant buildings that are currently being collected.
Yes.
Was pointed out by the vice chair. Where are those funds going? Are they currently going to the building division? Are there excess funds associated with vacant building fines that can be tapped into for this purpose?
And then, I guess I want to say that, may I, Mr. Chair?
I'm sorry, yeah, he actually refined the ordinance, I apologize for that.
May I?
He's looking at,
May I?
yes, you may address.
I guess, I'm not solely interested in vacant buildings. I guess my, is overall keeping properties up to code and not letting them fall in such disrepair that people are overburdened by the expense of redoing them. Because many times, we're running right now on a system where it's, whatever gets called into 622-4800 CSB, or they report to their alderman, that's what drives the building inspections. I'm not a building inspector.
Right.
My neighbor is not a building inspector. And for it to be obvious to neighbors, sometimes it's gotten to the point where it is, beyond, what somebody financially can do. I mean, maybe it was a gutter clip, now the gutter's down and the board's falling off. You get what I'm saying? The purpose to me is to have eyes on building inspectors rotating, going through neighborhoods, looking for things that, before they become a massive problem, that it's nipped in the bud, open storage, those types of things.
Well, maybe I should share 3 other programs that are already being funded, and they are working very well out in the communities. So we also have a home repair program.
I
Actually,
understand that, yeah.
no, let me give you the other details. So you know about home repair, healthy home repair. But we also have the home repair oversight with, it's either 2 or 3 other agencies.
Urban League.
I know Urban League is one.
Better Family Life.
Better Family Life is, and so they actually go out and make home repairs.
Right.
They also provide the other programs with that, like weatherization, all kinds of stuff. I mean, they do roofs, they do furnaces, they do everything. And all that is connected by the dots to the senior citizen programs. Everybody that reports a need anywhere, they know to make sure. Then we also have a training demo program that operates with us, the city. And what they do is they demolish buildings with a purpose of salvage, but they also train individuals. So then they can go out and either start their own companies or have the ability to work for a demolition company. And that gives us the ability to have a lot more buildings demoed, instead of paying that exorbitant amount that we pay for demolition of a building. And so that has really made a difference too. And we're increasing the funding for that particular program as well.
But I think, I understand what you're saying. I think it's important to have regular inspections of all buildings
Well,
on
we
an
have three
ongoing
different
basis.
building inspections that happen. Now, we do know the basic building inspection structure. So you have 5 building inspectors that are operating in your wards technically all the time, because each one of the major disciplines has a building inspector.
Right.
Then you also have, and hopefully
That's
two
assuming.
assigned building inspectors to each ward. And so their job is, they do windshield, and they also do whatever comes off the citizen service reporting system. They also work with those places that have new development, and they also work with anybody who comes in for rehab, like if they want to build out a room or whatever. That gets them, number one, into neighborhoods, so they can see what's going on in a particular block, and they're supposed to do those windshields all the time. They also have the ability then, if they go into a building and it's not up to par and somebody's trying to do something, they're gonna recommend that those other things get done. So, building inspectors have a lot of responsibility in your ward if you're, and let me not say that. Building inspectors have a lot of responsibility in your ward, and because they're in your ward, so many of them all the time, maybe we can work with restructuring a reporting system, because now we have modern technology that they use every day, and we can get more information in. That's what I really want.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Yeah, that vacant building initiative, that's also again in your line item detail, that's on page 235, and it's funding a program manager position in the building division.
And the funding for that, I don't have.
Which line item is that, Mr. Payne?
Yeah, that's page 235 in the line item detail book.
Sure, which is the line item here? Oh, you mean this is the whole?
The whole thing, yeah, there.
The whole
That-
thing.
That budget is it.
This is the
That's
vacant
it.
building
Yep.
fee?
Yep.
Right, vacant building
I think it brings,
registration.
on the revenue estimate's a little less than that, it's about 90,000, but I think they had a beginning balance there, but.
So I think that the vice chair's brought up some really good points. I'd like to point out that the system that we have, while there are some really good components to it, is not working very well.
Just gonna
There's
say,
a
it
lot
doesn't
of
work.
gaps. Our building inspectors that we have currently are reactionary. They react to the request by CSB. And as the Alderman from the 14th pointed out, neighbors aren't always adept at doing that, but even more so, when you call in something to CSB about a building falling down and you don't see it get fixed the next day, your likelihood to continue to make calls starts to diminish because you don't see the results.
There's no faith.
So there's a loss of faith in the system because of all the gaps. So this would work to start to fill in part of the gaps that we have, and instead of just and only being reactionary, we could have a crew that would be proactive and starting to address some of the major building code violations to get us to a point where we don't need $4.5 million in demo funds because we are holding building owners accountable.
Okay.
Otherwise-
And I think it would also bring some consistency to the whole deal. I have people that say, well, so-and-so's house didn't get this, somebody else up the block, because there is no consistent
Certainly.
thing. If it's a call-by-call basis, then somebody else's garage needs painting, but they didn't get anything because no one
How they
complained.
used to do it, for those who weren't here when it happened, is they would take your
Yes.
ward and do a third of it one year, a third the
Right.
next year, a third the
I
next.
still do it.
And what happens is, when you'll start getting the phone calls when it occurs.
Yes, you will.
And it worked, to a certain extent, it worked very well, because it made people, it was basically about painting, gutters,
Yes.
all the things. It wasn't going inside the house and going through the house, it's everything exterior. As far as that, it did work. Question I have, I don't know if anyone here can answer, how much money did we spend on demolishing buildings last year?
I don't know, $50?
How much did we actually spend?
How much
It wasn't
did we spend?
Well, the budget was 3.9 in the use tax fund.
But how
and
much
then-
did we use?
That's still being spent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But do
Yeah,
I-
we use it.
I know they've been tearing down a lot of buildings.
But how about the year before, 2017, what were we spending on demo? Because I thought it was closer to $500,000
Yeah, well, we,
previously.
before we got the balance,
Close to 2 million.
the budget balance, it was less than the 3, yeah. But I'd have to pull those numbers.
In other words, as soon as you, publicly, if you're gonna pull money out of the demolition budget, people are gonna be screaming, hey, that's our biggest problem, we need to get rid of these buildings. So before we do that, the reality is, are we going to spend all 3.8 demolishing these buildings? If we're not, then trying to borrow 300,000 from a 3.8 million
From
fund
something.
would make sense as a proactive measure. If there's some figure of what, if we're not coming close to this 3.8, if we need all 3.8, I know you like to have all, this is Todd Walterman from the
Well,
mayor's
Chairman,
office.
yeah, there's a 3.8 and there's a 6.75.
There's 6.75.
And the
That's
drop
about
pay.
$4.5 million, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
And they're gonna spend every nickel of it, and I'll tell you,
They're
they
doing a
actually
good job.
overspend every year historically. It's a process, when they get it chinned up and going, it runs, and they run right into next year's money.
Yep.
So they already know they're getting 3 million, so they can afford to let contractors.
And I'll say demolition is like coming at crime at the back end. You can arrest your way out of some, you take in at the very end, but what we ought to be doing is preventing buildings from getting to that point. And this is a proactive measure, it's less than 10% of the overall budget, and we can make a very significant difference by bringing some buildings into building code compliance with this.
Okay. Alderman Hubbard?
One quick question. Like I said, I'm just concerned about the process and the structure of it. I mean, if you look at how things are, they'll spend the bulk of their time in North St. Louis. I mean, we have entire wards within ruins, and a lot of it was by design, and a lot of it was due to lack of development within the city and things being pushed to North St. Louis. So how will we address that part of it, and specifically, how will we address the LRA portion of it? I mean, a lot of those buildings are LRA buildings. Like, that's the biggest boom in my community and in my bordering ward. So I think I'm in support of it, but I'm all for process and structure, and just to make sure that we aren't disproportionately impacting a certain demographic of people in our city.
I think there's a lot more conversation that needs to take place.
Well, yeah, we're, and this is our idea day,
Yeah.
so I think we'll gather some more information on your end. We'll see if there's anywhere else we can find money besides this to do this. The programs that are in place.
Can I
See
ask one more question?
Certainly.
For Mr. Waldman?
Todd, will you be open to a question from Alderman Howard?
Absolutely.
So, you're saying they spend it all up. Now, are you saying that if we take this money, that it's $300,000, that's going to impact the level of buildings that are able to be demoed, that need to be demoed?
Yeah, it was specifically reduced the number of houses. So they spend about $10,000 a building.
Right,
So if you take 300,000, that's 30 less buildings are knocked down next year.
Well, I guess my question would be that, we're kind of at a crossroads here. We blitzed a lot of stuff last year, is that correct? With the money? I mean, we
Yeah,
demoed,
I think the important part is the demo issue is bigger than $3, $4, $5 million.
oh, absolutely.
Right, so we're looking at a $20-30 million issue here. So it's important we keep chewing away at it to get, clean things up.
But at the same time, I don't think we ought to let buildings fall into disrepair that need to be demoed.
Yeah, I think we all agree on that,
We
but,
totally agree.
but we're just trying to find where to take, if there's a better place or different place we can get the money from. As the headlines read every day, everybody wants these things torn down. And I don't think any of us disagree with what you were proposing. We all love your program, because when it happened, it used to work, but we're taking these ideas today, and seeing if there's a better place than this 3.8 to take that 3 out of, if we can find that. If not, maybe we'll go back to that. Maybe we can take part of it from here and find part of it from somewhere else.
Okay.
So let's make that note now, and Alderman Spencer, you were on the floor, you've completed
Mr.
that?
Chairman, I'm committed to working with the Alderwoman from the 5th and some other folks, anybody at the table that wants to put in thoughts on how to make sure that we're not targeting, that we're protecting people.
Okay. I think
That's
we
all I
all
have,
agree.
Mr. Chairman.
Very good, thank you so much. Alderman Mohammed, you're next on the list. You have some points you want to bring up today that we can open up?
Yes, I would like to see, it's page number 86, that is the Park Rangers Division. I would like to see Park Rangers transferred out of the police department, which is roughly $1.4 million, and transferred back to the Department of Recreation and Parks.
So you're proposing just to move the park rangers out of the police budget?
Yes.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, you may.
Why?
Well, previous till we received local control, park rangers were under the Department of Parks and Recreation, and it was much more hands-on. They work hand-in-hand with the Parks Commissioner in guaranteeing safety and security for our parks. I'm sure every alderman know I have been consistent in begging for park rangers, as well as the alderman before me, and the alderman before him in my ward. Begging for park rangers. I know the alderman from the 27th ward has, and the alderwoman for the 19th with Chambers Park, as well as the alderwoman from the 2nd ward with the park on Broadway. The name skips my mind. But for some strange reason, we don't have park rangers in North St. Louis.
Right.
And working with the police department it's a headache, it's tiresome, and it's frustrating, trying to get park rangers. So I would rather work with the Parks Commissioner. She does not object. I'm sure the Director of Public Safety might. I don't care really. I care about the safety of my park.
What's
that again?
I have a statement to
What
make.
page?
I'd like to add that,
86.
I don't know that this is necessarily, I have some concerns about who would train them, but I echo the concerns of having park rangers. We reopened our pool on Saturday in Dutchtown at Marquette Rec. And in order for that facility to be open, we have to have a park ranger. And this was an opening day, festivities, and the pool had to close for an hour in the middle of it because the park ranger had to leave and take a break for an hour. And it was absolutely ridiculous. The pool was full of people, there was a party going on, we had a DJ, we were grilling, and the park had to close randomly without notice because the park ranger shift was over. And the lack of planning was so insulting to the community that had come out that day to
You're
participate.
supposed to have a swing person that goes around and relieve people.
Oh, yes.
Supposed to have.
Well, they're short.
And so that is, again, because of a lack of communication and oversight, direct relationship with our Parks Department that resulted in something so phenomenally ridiculous.
All right, so,
That's a statement I'm making on that.
okay, we would,
Yeah, don't give me a headache.
I don't think if I may, I don't think I have a problem with that, Alderman. Maybe we should just hear from the Parks Department and maybe the Public Safety Director.
I agree.
Some conversation around their thoughts on it, because they may be able to offer some ideas to bring better efficiency to exactly what you're proposing.
what we can do is have.
Been doing that
parliamentary meeting.
for 2 years, 16 murders since 2017 in O'Fallon Park.
Rangers are gonna prevent homicides?
I think a park ranger's presence will prevent
Okay, I'll buy that.
the atmosphere.
Sure.
Okay, so what we need to do is, I guess, request, meeting next week, request that Public Safety Director and Parks Commissioner come in, and we'll have a discussion on that. We'll make a note of that.
Yeah.
Second that.
Okay.
Also, in the
Yes, sir.
what we were just discussing, building use fund, $3 million, $825,000 left. I would like to see $200,000 transferred to the Circuit Attorney's office.
For which purpose?
For the purpose that she actually outlined, is for computer technology, which is exactly $200,000. Computer and technology services, carpool,
Out of the current demo fund?
$200,000.
I thought it was mentioned yesterday that the supplemental appropriation from 2017 went to upgrade computer systems and.
It went to it did. It went to upgrade
The
computer
board bill
systems.
doesn't mention the
But
word
it
computer at all in
doesn't,
it.
it does not, it does not include the managing of these systems. Now, when we upgraded computer technology in 2017, well, not we, but, no, when we, the city of St. Louis, when we upgraded computer technology, that was specifically for new computers, basically. And that was to establish an online system for the filing of court cases. Now she needs a system to manage those court cases, which we don't have yet. And she outlined that in her budget adjustment in which she asked for. She asked for 500,000. I think the mayor and ENA allotted her only 130,000.
Her original budget, you're right, her original budget request was for 500,000 for
Right.
computers.
And she was only allotted
And another 700,000 for
130,000.
legal and professional services. So 1.4 million out of that category was asked for.
Well, I'm specifically talking about computer and technology services. I'm not talking about legal services at this point, not yet.
We're back to the demolition fund, which where it is a hot topic to take money
It
from.
sure is.
So, since we're already proposing taking it, we have two little groups fighting over that, what might be $200,000 to $300,000. Let's see if we can find something besides the demolition fund to steal from, not steal, but borrow from, I should say, move around. If the demo fund does need all that. So that's a proposal for that. Is there anything else you'd like to propose today, sir?
Come back to me, I got more.
Okay. And Alderman Oldenburg, anything on your wish list here?
I'm just gonna throw out a few concepts, and I would like to come back with some more detail, given
Certainly.
this, we're just having a discussion, but, I'm certainly not opposed to the proposal around special events that was talked about, as a possibility to reappropriate some funds. I do have a lot of questions with the police budget, particularly some of the use of Prop P, funding some fleets, and I've sent a separate email to the budget director, and I'd just like to get some clarity between he and I
Okay.
before I come back
All right,
with
okay.
specifics around, because I think there's some money that can be moved around in the police budget where there's potentially some revenue swapping that I think we can avoid, but I'd like to make a presentation on that with some more details. I would also just like to state, I think we talked about cameras when the public safety director was here, and an ability to kind of fund that. I don't know if it's appropriate in our general revenue and our operating plan, but I would like, I mean, I know the committee chairman, as well as myself and other department heads sit on the capital improvement committee. And I think of maybe, after a presentation, that we can maybe get them a line item in the capital improvement plan and a memo from this committee addressing how we can fund the real-time crime center. Because I think, Mr. Payne, I think there is some Justice Center debt that's rolling off in the next year.
This year will be the last year of payments on, this
Right.
coming fiscal year, but the last.
So there
year.
might be some freed up funds, and I don't think, for a use there in the way of capital improvements, right?
Yeah, we'll obviously have to discuss that within the capital committee.
Correct.
I know,
I'm simply-
I know there's been some discussion, one of the concerns we've had on the police side of capital was getting vehicle replacements, because we're behind
Right.
on the ball on those.
Yep.
So that would have to be.
Part of the discussion, and I don't think we're asking for a lot, and this would be where, hey, the police would dictate where the cameras are, because I think cameras wherever they're put in this city are gonna help all of the city. So I just make that statement that we can maybe work towards that, it wouldn't be impacted in this budget. And then I might have some suggestions in movement, just to make all the departments more efficient, with some particular transfers from maybe the circuit attorney's office and others, so more to come probably on that.
Okay, so you would, and if you have the note in front of you, the public safety has no budget adjustment request to submit. Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw that.
But still, can they give us a summary of what they wanted? Did they not understand the question?
No, they answered the question.
They answered the question, they
Just as is?
they are fine with the budget,
As
as
is.
the budget they are presented with, they are fine with, is what they're telling us.
I thought maybe
So
they
We don't
wanted
want
a
to take it
summary,
any.
because now we gotta be back to the book.
If you want to take something.
But,
They didn't understand the question.
all right. Okay, Alderman Boyd, you have any,
No, I need to see the other departments that want to dissect it out.
okay. Alderman Clark Hubbard.
The same here, I have some requests, but I'm learning where the money can come from, clearly not the demolition budget again. But we're gonna bring that up. So I'm listening and dissecting and processing, so where else we can try to move money around.
All right, thank you. Alderman Vaccaro, you mentioned an amendment
We
before. We'll
do.
come back to
Okay.
you on that, sir.
I got the yellow pages that I'd like to make amendment, that's what we got these for.
So, certainly.
And we're gonna vote on them. These are, John, what's the other amendments we had? These are amendments that we're asking to take money out, not necessarily where it's gonna go back, because when we find out how much we have, that might help us figure out where to put it back. So these are cuts.
Carol, if you
not
pass those
put
to me, I'll have them make
I'm
copies.
just, yeah, I'm just.
Okay, and then we had some other ones.
Okay, we'll get copies for everyone.
And then this is up to you, John, if you want these amendments.
Okay.
This would be, if you want to have them voted on, if you think you got the votes, you might try it.
The amounts were missing from that.
Okay, well, we'll wait till you got copies, Brad. Alderman Davis had a point you wanted to bring up.
Well, I have passed to give my generality of what I would like to see happen. And so I'm very much supporting the deletion of special events. That department, most of the work is done by streets and excise. Sometimes it gets really complicated and it's hard to get it resolved when you have a special event. Because there's so many departments interacting, and it would be better for those who take the lead to have the responsibility again. And the actual report that we're sent on a regular basis comes from streets. That shares with you what your special events are. So obviously, they keep most of the records.
Let's change this.
So I have no problems with that. The other thing is, after the public hearing the other night, somehow, some way, we are going to have to deal with the crime on a different level. We cannot police our way out of what we're doing now. It is wrong to expect police officers to be social workers and every damn thing else out here. They do not have crystal balls. The culture in our communities is degraded to something that I'm ashamed of. And so we must get something new. I support Cure Violence. I support the residents in this city who are saying, we will do whatever, but we know we need something different, and they're taking on the responsibility of standing up to say that. And so we've got to take the responsibility to do something different, to add to, it is not slighting police officers in any way, it is to give them help. Because when your residents buy in, it's different. I've been through this before. It's different. When you have residents on the phone calling and telling which way the crook is going, he went down that alley, check. I mean, it's different. When they call and tell on somebody, that helps the police. We have got to change the culture here. Somewhere, somehow, we have got to make sure that we add something to this problem we have. I'm not taking nothing away from the police. You've heard me say it 1,000 times. I support my police department. I don't want to live anywhere that does not have a police department. And most especially when you have a good one. You want to talk about the bad things that have happened? I don't talk about bad things that have happened. Because you will have bad things happen everywhere. I deal with it appropriately, kick their ass out, fire them, whatever needs to happen, do that. But right now, this is serious, folks. When I don't want to go outside my house after 8 o'clock, that's a bad thing. And I'm not afraid of much of anything. I've had every crime committed against me that's on the books, okay? So, but this is different right now. This is different. Almost everybody at this table within the next year would have experienced something, either personally or directly in their family, based on how crime is happening in this city right now. We've got to change this culture. I need to find money to get started with Cure Violence.
Okay.
And if we were smart about it, this is a policing issue in a way of speaking, dealing with crime. And I think that they would, hopefully, they would support an effort to find some money in their budget, because I'm telling you, they need the help. They need it. We've got to help them.
So, my amendments, when they come out,
Yeah, we'll be passing them out now.
okay, so they can either be voted up or down. The problem I have with waiting for parts or whatever next week, the longer we don't send this budget over to E&A, will be the longer we don't get it back.
Right,
which means
that's
it's gonna be
true.
impossible.
We're well aware of that.
We gonna do it right.
I've looked up the history of this committee, and they've gotten the budget to the mayor, the ENAs, as late as the second week in
Oh, I
June.
know.
Yes.
I don't plan on doing that. I plan on next week getting this budget to ENA.
This is one.
But today, we are going to get our ideas together, and so next week, we will have these things going. This is not going, I don't like to dawdle,
No, I'm fine.
so
I'm used
I
to it.
appreciate you proposing these today. I doubt that we're gonna put any amendments to anything today. I want to get everybody's thoughts gathered on what we like to do, and if these are the projects you want, as you've done here, Alderman Vaccaro, find out specifically where you wanna take them from, and then we'll see if we can or can't.
Okay, and those will be amendments.
That's correct.
So the first one will be the First Amendment, which I think, however you got them, I don't have which way you put them out.
And this is what most of us support.
Right, and there's, and we're gonna, and it's either gonna pass or not, so it don't matter.
I have a question.
Yes,
This is back to what the alderman from the 18th
19th.
was proposing. I guess, cure violence, where would that be administered?
It can come one or two ways. You can establish it within an organization that is already functioning. There's no sense trying to recreate anything. And I'm gonna tell you, I am not in favor of everything coming to City Hall anymore. Because we don't do things the way the general public does it, okay?
Whose amendment is this?
Agencies that are already formed can do it for less. And that's basically what cure violence says. So,
That adds, that don't.
I wanted to,
I guess my question is, who would
First, we
administer
gotta
that?
get rid of
Who would it be on?
Yeah.
they have several options and I don't want to take that, I don't want to
That's
take
fine.
that
That's all I need to
responsibility
know.
away from the mayor's
I didn't know
office.
you had a place.
No, I don't have a specific,
Okay, that's fine, that's all I need to know.
yeah.
We'll be passing out, this is
And we can-
the Second Amendment they're proposing, Alderman Vaccaro and Mohammed.
So amendment one is,
These are just a reduction. It doesn't say.
right, I'm not.
No, what we're gonna do, I'm gonna let everybody take these copies with them, Joe. This is, again, we'll get to this, I'm planning on having a meeting,
Monday and Tuesday.
Monday and Tuesday, maybe even Wednesday of next week, okay? And then we're gonna get this done.
Okay, so
It's
we're
that
not
simple.
doing- we're not
Well,
doing-
but I want everybody to take these amendments you're proposing today and take a look through the book and see if these
Okay.
agree with, never know, I know you proposed them, but I'm proposing we don't vote today, I'm proposing that we all get some
Okay, that's fine.
smart ideas, and
Some order.
next week we get down to the nitty gritty. All right? So if anyone else has any,
Going out.
yeah,
Are you gonna take more than next week, or we should get them all together today?
Guessing today, it looks like.
So you might wanna send yours over there.
Which
So you might wanna send your,
Okay.
you might send your parks over there.
again, if you're turning yours in also, other one of the yellow ones are cuts, and the green are go ads.
I need
So you're waiting, to recap, I'll run over, you're waiting for a synopsis from Mr. Payne for,
Yeah, just some clarity, and then I'll
Okay.
have a proposal next week if warranted.
do we think we'd have that by Monday?
Yeah, I mean, I said, sure.
Okay, all right. Are there any other topics anyone needs to introduce today? I can go around the table one more time.
You said, well, did we turn out?
I didn't hear you.
Any other topics we want to bring up today for this?
Yeah, why not?
If you guys want to propose, get your things turned in so everyone take them with them.
So let me give you the parks.
Can I ask a question? You
Certainly.
can't, so without proposing to move something, you can't propose to add
Well,
something. They go
if you want to
hand in
do something, you have to tell us where you're going to take or.
hand. You have to know where you're
Yeah,
taking from to
we
do.
just don't, no magic
What
tricks
does
here.
that
Okay.
say?
But Joe, like in mine, I'm just asking,
Yeah.
because I don't know, the rules have changed a little bit. Can't we just take and take and take, and decide later when we have that amount, decide where we want to put it back? Because in
can.
mine, I'm saying, let's take from here, it looks like it's open places. I don't really have a proposal, I mean,
No, I'm proposing, if you're taking, just tell us where you're going to take it from. If you're-
Right, that's what
If you're
I thought.
adding it, we.
well, that's what I thought, we'd have that fund, once those pass. Like if all the takes come up to be $1 million,
Mhm.
then we could take from that and add from that. So out of that money that we took, I'd like to take blah amount and add it to here. That, I mean, that's what I thought.
That's fine. So,
Yeah, it goes in the building division.
Want to take money, do you have the line item?
oh, okay, that's not very, all right.
No, just so they know what it is.
All right, so let's go around the board one more time, see if anyone else has anything they want to turn in today.
This is just the.
And then we'll take all this with us, and I plan on Monday morning at 10 a.m.
Perfect.
We'll start the nasty work.
Do you just want the reduction today?
Whatever you were proposing, yes. Any
Oh,
proposals yet?
reduction.
And you can turn them in Monday also, you don't have to turn everything in today. But if you do, you're gonna give other board members a chance to see what you're proposing.
So good thing or bad thing, fund we can take.
Again.
Hold on.
All right?
I think the reductions should be done today because that's the hardest part.
Hard.
Because you know what you're trying to take out. And then the next step is to find the other part. So you don't want to be doing this because you'll never get it done.
Yeah.
We want to have a system. And so I would do all the reductions today. Everything that you want to remove, decrease.
But,
I don't, what does that say?
I just don't, I'm just saying,
We need a system.
I understand, let me just ask,
No, that's.
are we gonna vote on the reductions today?
No, okay, I've already stated that.
So-
We're-
Make sure you
So
can
let's-
to the chairman by
Let's
the end of
just
the day.
say that we do all the reductions, but they don't all pass. In other words, we could be proposing $1 million in reductions, and we're gonna vote. And out of those reductions, next week when we vote, they're not gonna all pass. I mean, then that, we won't know that amount of.
The system will stay in place. We're collecting the reductions today. On Monday morning, you'll be prepared to do your additions. Okay, all of that is gonna be right there together. It's not like you're going away for days and coming back or anything.
No, I
You
just
can
try to.
vote, you can vote Monday on your reductions. You can look at the additions, try to find your money for it, and vote. I mean, it's not hard. It's really not.
It's just, I mean,
It's gonna work out really good.
I'm old and change.
That's why I'm my vice chair.
She's been on this committee.
Because I'm gonna stop you every time you get too far out of order. It's gonna work really good.
We'll be fine.
Yeah.
Change
It's
is
really
hard
good.
on me, I'm old.
Yeah. So, we'll go around, is there anything you'd like to turn in today as far as,
No, I don't have a reduction. I just wanna talk about
okay?
our, video folks. What do we call them?
Communications?
Communications. We do know that we continue to add things for them to do, and they're short-staffed, and we want to we saw what they asked for, which isn't a lot, was about 80,000 altogether.
And there's,
Yeah, 78 too.
78,208.
with the benefits, it comes up about.
Okay, so we good. So we do know we need to do that. Last year, we couldn't give them the staff that they asked for, and now we've added an additional committee. We've added additional committees on the side of all that land clearance and all that stuff that they take. So, and we have more reasons to need what they do, so we need to try to find that. Let's think about that.
All right. And Alderman McCarl, I have your 3 amendments, your next one, so is there
And I'll
anything else?
probably have more, I'll just give them to you by Monday.
That'd be fine. That'd be fine, sir. Thank you very much.
Leave it sit in the back.
Alderman Howard, is there anything you want to submit today? I've given your idea for the.
Just, we, didn't you turn it in?
It's up there until Monday.
No.
The building
Okay.
reduction.
No, actually, Tom here stole it.
No, these are copies, back off.
All right, order, no violence.
I don't think so. Looks like the original.
It has to
Do
be
we have
the
copies?
original.
Because it's yellow.
Yeah, we don't have
Well, you're right, I stand corrected.
So we have 2 here we need copies of.
We need copies.
Copies of those.
Is this
All right,
And a giveaway.
Okay.
We need to talk about that.
Okay. So, Alderman Hubbard, anything you want to turn in today? Or-
I don't
It's
right
not
now.
mandatory.
Okay, I probably have some Monday. I just would like to see where all the cuts are, so then we can probably divvy it up and appease everybody a little bit.
That doesn't happen.
I know. I know.
Call Cinderella. All right. And Alderman Murphy, anything you wanna turn in today?
No,
You made
they
your-
did
The special
it.
events has
They
been
stole
turned
my
in.
thunder.
Yeah, okay, so we have that
Which is
covered.
fine with me.
All right,
I don't need it.
you can be a co-sponsor if you like.
Done.
Okay, and Alderman Spencer, yours are turned in?
May I ask for a point of clarity?
Certainly.
This is Joe, Alderman Vaquero's reduction. The
Yeah.
recorder of deeds, there's not a, if you don't mind, just putting the line item.
There's no line item, it's a position. Paul,
What page
I
is
think
that?
there-
An amount?
Position.
Do you have
there
a-
was an amount on there, 70,000.
Oh,
But you say-
And the
Is that what
page
that
number,
Is that what this is?
page number
Yeah,
is,
it's 70.
70,000.
It's 70.
page number and the position.
Recorder information?
Yeah.
Recorder
It was-
information is the title?
Yeah, and it was an unfunded, like if you go to that, it was unfunded last year. And it was a position that wasn't there, that was one that was put back.
So the $70,000 is sitting there doing nothing, is what you're
Well,
saying?
it was unfunded last year. This year, they put somebody in that position.
Okay,
There, and this, I would think we'd argue that when we get ready to do this,
Sure.
but we can talk about it now. So,
I just wanted some.
The
She-
position-
She wants some information about what it is.
so it was unfunded last year, in fact, in previous years, because I was showing Paul, I went back several years in these books. It's a position that was added in this year that hadn't been funded in the past. That they're, even though they cut 3 positions, their total budget went up considerably. And, you know, when we're trying to find money for, you know, the EMS stuff, and trying to find all these different money. You know, so it's a position that previously wasn't, it just hadn't been funded, and all of a sudden now this year.
So it looks
And I
like
don't
it's-
see the need.
I just was looking for the line item. It looks like it's 5101.
That's, the whole thing is 5101, that's the,
Is that right?
Yes,
What pages are you on,
Or 5101, yeah.
Alderwoman?
what page is that
I
on?
guess they're all.
it's on, it's marked on that thing, what page does it say?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Page
I just was
161.
curious what we're-
161,
It's
that's
the
all it-
position of the recorder.
Okay.
Information.
Systems manager. Okay.
Okay.
And honestly, it looks like he has 7 of those already.
But we, I guess we can argue about that day.
Yeah, we can. Alderman Mohammed, anything else you want to add at this time?
Yes, the one I just sent to you, I wanna, I know right now we're just doing cuts, so, page number 9 in Slate Workforce Development, cut the position of Deputy Director of Employment and Training. That's, $73,285. I wanna see that cut, and I wanna see that added to the budget division for a Deputy Director. And this is against his wishes. He
Well,
doesn't
the
want-
point brought up, is that the special funding, is it a position, can that be cut?
Is that
funding?
federal funding?
That's federal money.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going after a grant fund, then you can't just.
It's a grant, I can't cut it.
Okay,
I don't think this
But
is
we're
in the
checking,
grant
it probably
fund.
isn't.
Like, I don't think it's all.
It's not a grant, this is not a grant fund.
Yeah, 1162 would be a grant fund.
Sorry, Alderman, where would you
So
move it?
but it's a grant
Budget
fund, so it
division.
can't.
Oh.
If they can't occur, then we can,
So how do you know if it's, okay.
By the 1160s, anything 1160s would be a grant.
Would be grant money.
so you're,
Okay.
okay, that being a grant fund, you can take,
So anything 11, or is this
We can
11?
get rid of that
About
one.
11.
Sorry,
Be
Paul.
number 4,
No, I'm not, that's his, I'm not.
but it's a workforce development, that is a cut that can't be made.
1124 is the economic development
No,
sales
it's
tax.
federal. It's a special federal grant, the whole budget.
They get a,
Okay,
they
so,
get, there's an ordinance which allocates that. and then it's
all right,
allocated.
so is there anything else, Alderman, you'd like to bring up at this time, since we can't do that one?
Did he make copies?
No, I have to go through this
Did the
book.
last ones go around?
Yeah, the last copies,
We had
About the
copies
building
going around?
inspectors, did that come through?
Did
I
you get the
haven't
one
seen
for
it,
the building division and the one for Deputy Director of Employment and
well,
Training?
that's the one we
Well, it
can't
doesn't
use.
even matter.
That's a
Can't do
federal
that.
grant.
So that's a federal grant, we can't use
No,
it, okay.
so
But we need the door-to-door thing.
The door to door.
that's the proposed building division, okay? All right,
I
so,
don't have that one.
Alderman Oldenburg, you stated you're gonna wait for Mr. Payne for a report.
Yeah, and I'll get any reductions due by the end of the day, but I just, if I can, just a brief statement. I would say that,
Pass me one,
and
Carol.
Alderwoman from the 18th can attest to this, she's been on this committee much longer than any of us, including myself, but, sorry.
They keep moving you to 18.
No, sorry, I keep doing that. I just would like to say, I think the budget office has a really good handle on these numbers. Every time both that office and E&A brings things to us, they're not perfect, but there is a bow on this budget, so I would just caution us all with reductions and transfers and movements around, because often, you can't get blood from a turnip, so there's a pretty good handle on things, and I would like to compliment the budget office in that regard. So I would just caution us all when we start voting on these amendments that, we're actually in a decent spot, year to date with this budget. Now, I worry about the out years, and I know that the budget office does too, but I just want to give everyone some caution in that regard.
Thank you, sir.
That includes any reductions I may or may not.
You're next, you have the floor.
Can I ask a question? And I guess my question to the chair is, and the vice chair, I hear what you're saying, Alderman, but the problem that I'm having is if the budget department is trying diligently to make sure that people are being paid, accurate pay, the whole 9 yards. And so when you keep adding positions, that's impacting the budget. Am I correct?
Sure.
And so, to me, as a department head that oversees your budget, why would you increase a position when you haven't filled it? Right. Why would why would you keep adding positions and we struggling trying to stay afloat? And that's all I'm asking. So that's not realistic to me. Yeah.
Okay.
I would agree with that. I think there are some line items where we fund positions, they get authorized and never filled.
Okay.
And so in theory, to me, is why can't we give raises then to where we see that
Right.
to those in the department? And maybe that's a question that I put
Sure.
in my head. So anyway, I appreciate that, Alderwoman. I have nothing further. Sure.
All right. This is a piece of information given out. It's in regards
Used by
to...
the budget director, it just outlines, circuit court attorney's budget over time.
Okay, we were, Alderman Boyd, that's your, nothing further?
No, I'll wait to.
Okay, Alderman Clark Hubbard?
Decrease.
I just had a question.
Certainly.
On how far I can have a conversation with you, because I know you said you can't. Can I ask you to help find where some money can come from, or is that not?
No, my message earlier was that I will help you technically with any proposed amendment, whether it's a cut or an add or not. But I don't want to get into with you all,
Sure.
this is among yourselves, the substance of your proposal, because obviously that's E&A's purview.
That's not his turn.
So if you have a technical question in terms of how do I mechanically put this amendment together, we'll absolutely help you with
That's
that.
it. Okay. Is there anybody that, freshman alderman, okay, thank you, Dr. Darrell, I can go. Okay.
We have a doctor in the house.
We have a doctor in the house.
All right. At this point, so what we will do is take all this wonderful information, get everything specific, we'll wait for Mr. Oldenburg and Mr. Payne to get his report together. And we've had a wonderful hour and 24 minutes or so here. And it's gonna be a lot longer Monday, so we might order lunch.
Can I make a request for bylaws?
If I don't deliver.
Emails.
But anyhow,
Emails is
if no one has anything further today, we will.
I forgot to ask, did
Yes.
in case I missed it, did the recorder of these office come before us?
No.
Okay.
No,
they don't allow.
We didn't have any county.
no, they're county offices.
We don't normally deal with the county office.
Oh, okay.
I mean, they have come
Why not?
before us, but not all the
Yeah,
time.
pay 'em.
No, I want to know, I mean, their budget is come out of general revenue, right?
Most of it.
I mean, why not?
We need to have,
Can I make that appeal to you, Mr. Chair and Madam Vice Chair?
I think that we can talk about that for our next cycle, but we're too far into this right now.
Well, they generate.
It's something historically not done.
Generate.
Because you have to remember, they generate most of the funds.
Yeah, and they
that
generate
use.
money.
They're payment offices.
They don't
and
cost
generate
us
their
anything.
funds.
they're self-sustaining.
Okay.
All right. If no one has any further comments, we will make a motion to adjourn.
I have one more comment.
Yes, sir.
I love the Madam Chairwoman from the 19th Ward.
Oh, jeez.
Thank you,
That's
sir.
not gonna help you.
All right. Motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
Second? Meeting adjourned. See you Monday.